That's right, folks. It's another Sunday morning on the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast, and we're breaking down 2 hours of your start-sit questions, key injuries, and weather updates. Everything you need to know up until kickoff. Kick up too. Join the team right now on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. And that's right, folks. Obviously, if you're ready to kick up on today's episode, I'm just making up new words instead of kick off. I'm excited today. I'll be your host for the first half hour or so until Sky Gawasco joins on to break down 2 hours of your start-sit questions and break down some key weather and injury updates that will impact Week 9. We hope you are all undefeated heading into this week. But if you are not and you need a big win and you're looking for that final flex play, we got you covered here today. I'll be joined by Dave Cruz. You can follow him at Cruiser. Is it Cruiser? 128? Is that the proper terminology? Cruiser.
Yeah. No. Put the accent anywhere you want.
Okay. Got it. And then also Derek Favret. You can follow him Derek_Favret on Twitter. What's going on, man?
Yeah, doing well. Back here again. Another quick week.
We got some fun stuff going on. I hope everybody in the chat right now is ready to make a playoff push. We're excited at Razzball. Make sure you stay with us every Sunday. Of course, we'll be here for you for 2 hours. But starting over the next few weeks, we're going to be really diving deep into rest of season schedules, playoff schedules. We're going to have a lot of fun content. Every single year, we do the defensive matchups for the playoffs, which is a lot of fun. So we're going to have a lot of fun episodes. Make sure you subscribe to the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. But we got some fun ones. We got Joe, Jeff, we got Epic Fail, we got Bill Dino. We got some heavy hitters hitting the chat early, and we're going to get to your questions right now. What's going on, Joe? How you doing, man? Joe Chris. Hey, dudes. Who are you starting standard Yahoo League? And I'm assuming, does that mean there's just no PPR? Is Yahoo's standard format no PPR? Is that a thing?
I would assume so.
All right, just making sure.
I've taken to saying non-PPR now rather than standard. When people started calling it standard PPR, that's when I bailed on standard.
Yeah, I think that I did a poll, I would say last year. And I just asked all our followers, what is your most utilized format? And it's heavily PPR, full PPR. So I just started. That's when I moved everything to PPR. I believe half PPR is the best format when it comes to logically speaking. I don't think you should catch a ball 9 yards behind the line of scrimmage and get a tenth of a point. That's insane to me. But whatever. Neither here or there. We're not here to get into logistics here, folks. But thanks, Joe. Getting us started early. A little confrontation to start the day. I love it. But it looks like, so we got Love or Knicks. Of course, Jordan Love dealing with the groin injury. Today, there's major weather concerns. And Derek, I'm not sure if you dived into it deep, but I have seen a lot of Green Bay weather concerns. Now, maybe we could start the show from the top here, Derek. Is there any hesitation on Love and Goff in this game?
Yeah, there is. I mean, the weather that I'm seeing right now, 54 degrees and showers throughout, sometimes heavy, but essentially it's going to be a wet game. No question about it. Probably more importantly, sustained winds 15 to 20, gusts up to 30 to 35. So yeah, it's going to be a miserable day, football wise. So I definitely see that there will be some effect on the two quarterbacks. We know Love is coming in with a groin injury, and we know Jared Goff doesn't travel well outdoors. So those are two historical or injury related issues for the two quarterbacks in that game. And and if those materialize, it's going to trickle down to all the players, the fantasy players of relevance. So some positive, some negative. So definitely, I think weather's going to play a factor in that game.
Well, let's start from there. Is Bo Nix willing to pivot to Bo Nix against the Ravens this week versus Jordan Love?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Nix has been really good, and he's doing it with his legs too. But traveling to Baltimore. I mean, granted, it's not, your father's Baltimore Ravens defense anymore, but, there's enough red flags with Jordan Love and in that game. Hopefully your record allows you to take a chance. I mean, if this is a must-win game, then this makes it even harder. But if you're in a position where you can take a little bit of a chance, I'm going with Bo Nix, and I just see that the upside there is higher. There is more risk. Well, there is the risk both ways, but I think there's certainly risk there. But I think the upside is a little more. So I would take a shot at Bo Nix.
Dave?
Yeah, it's closer for me than it should be. I totally agree with what Derek said. It kind of depends on your record. If I've got to have the win, I'm going with Jordan Love. If I've got a little bit of the gambler in me and I've got like a 7-2 or 6-2 record, I don't mind starting Knicks, but I'd kick myself if I started Knicks and Love went off. I do like the floor that Knicks gets from the rushing upside. But for me, it's going to have to – that's basically a 75-25 proposition for me. 3 times out of 4, I'm going to go Love.
If you look at his 2023 stats against Detroit, it's not going to help your decision either, because he had one game where he had 3 touchdown passes, 268 passing yards, and then he had another game where he was 246, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. So I honestly feel like he might be closer to the 246, 1 and 2 interceptions, which, by the way, came at home in that game. So I know that was early on in the year, and that's when Love wasn't really hitting his stride. But at the same time, like, he's not going to have the full mobility with the groin, and now you're taking away the optimal passing element away. Give me Bo Nix. I just think that I'm not a big fan of Bo Nix today either, to be honest with you. But I can't. And the other thing with Love is, like, we don't know if he re-aggravates that groin injury. He could be done after the first quarter. So it just seems like an unnecessary risk, especially if the rain is bad. So let's move on from there. All right. So I think we're going to go clean sweep trifecta on Bo Nix. Congratulations, Bo. You'll be getting a prize in the mail as being the first try box question of the day. All right. We got the second one, which is just absolutely insane and tough. You got Tyrone Tracy, my sweet angel from the New York Giants, going up against the Washington Commanders. And then you got David Montgomery on the road, though, against the Green Bay Packers. We're going to go to you first, Dave. What's your thoughts here?
Well, I love Tyrone Tracy, but I think the Washington defense is a little bit tougher than people give it credit for. They do have games where they allow a lot of points, but they don't allow a ton of yards. So I'm probably gonna side with Montgomery on this one. But if I needed a home run, I'd go with Tracy.
Yeah, this is a tough one as well in a standard league too. So, you're not getting any benefit from Tracy catching some balls out of the backfield other than in the yards. But to me, I'm in that position as well with Tracy. I have some shares of him, and he's off the injury list. He's a full go. Look what he did last week versus a tough Pittsburgh defense, and it would be really somewhat insane to me to think that the Giants wouldn't put that confidence in him like they did last week as well. So I'm going to go Tracy here, because Montgomery is going to be really more, especially in a standard league, he's going to be more of a a touchdown dependent back, because he doesn't really, typically get all the yards. But again, the wet field probably leans a little more on the running game. So I wouldn't fault you for going with Montgomery there, but for me, it's going to be Tracy.
I'm going to go D-Mont. I think at this point, he's kind of – I know he just seems like he's an auto touchdown scorer every week at this point, but the way he beat the Packers is on the ground, and he just completely crushed them last year. 32 carries, 121 yards, 3 touchdowns in one game, and then he had 15 for 71 in one in the other. So, like, I think today's weather conditions and Goff's known outdoor road struggles, I think it leans to me to believe that David Montgomery is probably the guy we want in this matchup. All right. And by the way, that's saying that Tyrone Tracy is my sweet angel. I love him to death. And by the way, these probably are 2 top 12 options for you. And I would love to hear who else you got on your team, Joe, because that's what I'm talking about, my friend. Yeah. That's an elite lineup. I have Tyrone Tracy right now, and I'm debating him or Josh Downs in the flex. Talk about just picking between your 2 favorite kids. I'm not excited for that decision to go wrong for me. All right. We got Kelsey and K-Dot, and this is the last one here, folks. Now, Travis Kelce, of course, is – becoming. We thought he would be an auto start, but Cade Otton last week with the first week without essentially the Evans Godwin went absolutely berserk. But he's got a tougher matchup this week. Well, he doesn't. He's got Kansas City Chiefs, who basically allow a crazy amount of fantasy points to tight ends. And then on the flip side of that Monday night game, you have Travis Kelce going up against Tampa Bay. Dave, what's your thoughts here?
I, for the reason you just said, I have Otton slightly ahead in that matchup. Kansas City is the number one fantasy defense to have if you got a tight end against the tight end. So I'm going to take that and give Otton just a slight edge over Kelce.
Yeah, for me, you're right. Kansas City is the top matchup, but Tampa is the fourth best. So, and speaking of weather, we talked about the weather in Green Bay. This is really the only other game where weather may have some effect, although not wind, but it will be wet. The chances there's a good chance of rain, maybe potential thunderstorms through the game tomorrow night. So those are really the only two games where weather is an issue. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue affecting the game so much here in this one for either quarterback or the players. So just checking that box. It will be some rain, but not as much. I'm going to go with Kelce here. Again, playing at home on Monday Night Football. There's something there. There always seems to be something there. And both matchups are really good. And, and if hopefully we get a good game, hopefully we get, Baker and Tampa, keeping up with the Chiefs, and that being the case, then, Kelce's going to be even more pertinent. So I'm going to go with Kelce. I think a little more comfortable with that. Both matchups are real good, but Otton is pretty high in my tight end list. So if you're, for others who are comparing Otton with some other choices, he's probably going to win out most times. But in this case, it's going to be Kelce for me.
Yeah, I think Otton to me is like the perfect. I would start him over a quote unquote or tight end one that's in a bad matchup, but Kelce's not. Like Kelce is got a great matchup. That's Tampa Bay is a great matchup for tight ends. I'm just going to ride with Kelce. But I think this is another way of just say great job on the waiver wire, because now you have the flexibility to not start Kelce if he's in a bad matchup. So I do like that as well. We do have a special announcement. Obviously, I want to tell Dave and I want to tell Derek that you guys deserve as much praise for being on time today. And we don't like to always reward people for showing up late. But honestly, I love this guy. He's one of my favorite people. So I'm just going to give him a cool intro,
Let's get ready to rumble!
Introducing our number 4 quad box player of the day. It is Sky Gawasco, folks. You can follow him at Sky Gawasco on Twitter. What's going on, Sky?
I'm only here because Dave said he was wearing a Giants hat. So thanks, Dave.
Nice.
The defending champ shows up.
Dude, it's literally 5 seconds in and you already brought up baseball. Like you couldn't even like get through one sentence.
It's Sunday today. My bad, Bob.
Sunday.
Sorry about that.
Well, by the way, we are on Jeff Marks. We only got through one question because these guys, classic. Perfect. I know, right? So I'm going to throw it over to you, Sky. Congratulations. You just got promoted right off the bat. I want to let know Dave and Derek, you don't want that job anyway, so it's fine. We're going to throw it to Sky as a punishment. Congratulations. You're officially hosting.
I love it. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much. All right. Full PPR. Pick 1, Kareem Hunt, Tyrone Tracy, Brian Thomas Jr., Amari Cooper. Dave, we're going to kick it off with you. We'll go to Derek and then Bob.
I am going to take Tyrone Tracy out of that grouping. Love Hunt, but he just he doesn't always get the volume. I think Tracy will get plenty of volume. Kind of never know what you're going to get with Brian Thomas Jr. He's a stud. He's in lineups most of the time, but I'm going to take the running back over the wide receiver, and I just don't think Cooper's really settled in yet in Buffalo.
Yeah, at this moment in time, I'm taking Tracy as well. However, I do see, or I believe that Brian Thomas Jr. is supposed to play, and I do want to get that update first because that is a great matchup. Well, I say great. It's a good matchup for him because Jacksonville should be behind and they should be throwing. So even if he doesn't get in the end zone in a PPR league, he should get a lot of points because he should be targeted a lot in that offense. He and Evan Ingram. But at this moment in time, it's going to be Tracy for me of the four. I'm just, Kareem Hunt. Okay, he's scoring points to get in the end zone, but he's averaging like 2.5 yards per carry. I just that's not going to be good enough for me when you've got these other names to consider. So Tracy for me.
It's Tracy just because the dude is legit special. Like honestly, I want to get Tracy in every one of my leagues right now. If you watch that, by the way, if you watch that last play against Pittsburgh, if Tyrone Tracy's in that game, that ball doesn't clank off he's about 3 or 4 inches taller than Devin Singletary. He catches that pass, the Giants probably win the game. We're going to the Super Bowl. But unfortunately, Devin Singletary's in the game, and he's like 5'2", and it goes off his fingertips and it gets intercepted. Sorry, Daniel Jones. Tyrone Tracy is legit. Like, he's legit. And the Commanders' defense, I know, is underrated. But my adjusted line yards metric has this as a top 11 matchup, so I like it for the Giants.
See, Bob, I love that. You're bringing up the Giants right away, too. We're always on the same page, buddy. You don't need to work. You don't need
yin
to
and yang. Yin and yang, baby.
I'm going to be disappointed if Tyrone Tracy doesn't cure cancer sometime this week.
He probably did already. Honestly, I feel great. I feel like we all feel great. He brings happiness to me. So that's
he did clear concussion in less than a week. So
yeah, basically.
Yeah, Superman. We have a super chat.
That is true. We do, Tyler. We're going to get to you in 1 second, buddy. Tyrone Tracy for me as well. I'm actually sitting Amari Cooper this week. Christian Kirk is out now for the season, of course, but not quite sure about Brian Thomas and his health. And Kareem Hunt, as Dave will remember, Kareem Hunt was actually a sell for me this week on the waiver and trades episode. So I'm going to stick away from that. But Tyrone Tracy's my man. 18, 17, and 20 carries in 3 of the last 4 games. He has over 20 opportunities in all 4 of his last few games, 130 and 145 yards rushing on the ground, 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games as well. He's RB 5 and 7 in 2 of the last 3 games. He's been on fire. I mentioned a couple weeks ago when he became the new hotness that he would take over for Singletary. Kind of got laughed at on the program, a little bit rude. But here we are, and he's doing very well. So I will go Tyrone Tracy as well. Let's get to that super chat right away. Bob, for everybody else, can you just give a quick note on what a super chat actually is here before we get to Tyler?
Well, first of all, appreciate Tyler. Honestly, Tyler's really just skyrocketed up the
come
fandom.
around.
Honestly, I really do appreciate. Honestly, it's fantastic, and shout out to for the super chat. We do appreciate it. Super chat, by the way, folks. Obviously, this is a way to expedite your question getting answered, which is obviously a priority for you to get your answers, especially if you're on the go on Sunday morning. So we do appreciate you, Tyler, for jumping in here. But the key here for us is that we actually partner with Good Sports at the end of the year. We tally up how much we get from the super chat, and we donate to a charity called Good Sports. Good Sports is a charity organization that helps provide sporting equipment to underprivileged communities. So really fun opportunity for us to give back. We're hoping to do get to a certain goal. Right now, I think we're at like $5, but you know what? We'll double it. Well, we'll match it. It's all good. So we do appreciate you guys, but obviously it helps us too. Kicks back to the show, helps us keep the lights on. I have this light in front of me that I need now because I have a weird lighting situation in my new house. So thank you, Tyler. That keeps the light on. I love you, man. Let's get to the questions, guy.
Love it. All right, you guys are gonna have to help me dissect this one. It's early for me on the West Coast here. We got Otters, Jurgensen, Cookin, or Reed.
I like how Reed didn't get anything. You should have dropped the Reed like R-E-A-D, like a Reed. If you're playing a little play on words with this.
Reeds, maybe like a saxophone reed. I'll throw that out there.
Is that how you spell it?
All right, so,
is that how you spell it?
No idea. No idea.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
You're a
it could
music.
be.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't do horns, bro. I don't do horns.
Don't you?
So let's go tight end.
What is the thing?
It's a didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo?
That's
not
a wind.
It looks like a horn.
It's a wind instrument, technically.
Hey,
All
real quick,
Ferguson.
Real quick before we get rolling, Brian Robinson is going to be inactive today.
Whoa. What? All right.
So
Good
Tyrone
news.
Tracy extra then? Yeah. All right, there you go. Man, nobody to throw to except for Evan Ingram if he even plays in Jacksonville. Okay, Tyler, let's get to it here. Otten and Ferguson, there were the notes. So we'll kick it up here. We need a tight end and a wide receiver, unless that's Jordan Reed. Shout out to the OGs there.
Nice.
Dave, we'll go with you first.
Actually, you probably picked the wrong person. I don't really speak Sparian. I'm not sure who the players are here.
Otten and Ferguson for the first one.
Okay. For me, it's Otten. And is that Kogan or Jaden Reed?
I think it's Cooper.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's Reed.
That's actually a good question. Cooking. Do you think it'd be Cooper?
Coleman or Reed? He says later. He just
Otten and Ferguson, Coleman and Reed.
Coleman.
That changes it. I'm still probably going with Jaden Reed over Coleman, but I still am sticking with Otten over Jake Ferguson.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Reed as well. I like Reed over Coleman in that one. However, I'm going to go Ferguson. I really like this matchup. Ferguson is my number 6 tight end this week, even though, I mean, that's really like the line. We just spoke about Otten and where we have him versus others, and we just talked about that matchup. But that's really the line for me is Ferguson, which is a 6. So I have Otten just below that. So I'm just going to lean Ferguson in this one with that matchup. Dallas is really in a position they just need to win this game and just to calm everything down there. And Ferguson really needs to be part of that. And I like that matchup there a little bit better. So give me Ferguson.
Yeah, I do love that Atlanta-Dallas game. There's a couple key injuries, especially in the secondary for both sides. Well, mostly Dallas, that could impact this game. There's a couple linebackers that are out for the Falcons potentially. So I kind of want as much as I can get of that game. I'm going to go Ferguson, slightly ahead of actually, you know what? No, I'm going to go Otten. Going Otten. Give me Otten. Going Otten. I like Otten because, listen, like when you watch that game last week, the receivers, like Otten became the Travis Kelce of that offense. And honestly, like the both matches are good. And we're talking Kansas City. Kansas City's going to be able to put up points at home this week. So I actually like Otten. I'm going to go Otten. And then Coleman, Reed. I'm going to go Reed. Even in the rain, I think Reed might be the better, the type of player that could succeed in that kind of weather. He gets a lot of running game looks too, and he's the slot guy. So I'm going to go Reed.
I will go Otten and Reed as well. Tyler, again, thanks for the super chat, bud. And next time, take 1 extra second, please, and just type these out a little bit more clean so we can get to it a little bit faster. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Let's get back to the order of business.
Amari Cooper's inactive too.
Oh, geez.
There we go. So that makes it easier. I was benching him anyway. I was just a bit concerned about that and then potential weather up in Buffalo, but that makes that easier as well. Let's see where we got here on the ticker.
Host bailed.
Oh, all right. All right, I'll just take over. Things are running smoother anyway without him. I mean, ever since he got here, things got real weird anyway. Oh, there he is. I mean, I was just talking about how things were going so smooth before you got here. Now, all of a sudden, we're all over the place.
That's what I get for pushing buttons. I don't get paid enough to click buttons. I'm just here to talk and get my expertise and keep order in the court. And here I am clicking a button trying to be professional, and it backfired. Apologize, people. All right, epic fail. Good morning. Gino versus Flacco. Come on, bro. This is Flacco's #1 podcast. I'm not even sure why this is a question right now. Also, Flacco versus Winston. This is also a Jameis Winston podcast. That might be the question there. Pick 2, Tillman, JSN, Waddle. We got a lot going on here, Dave. Let's pick a quarterback and a couple receivers.
Okay. I'm definitely going Flacco over Gino. I don't really care much for the Gino matchup, and I think the Flacco matchup is pretty good. As far as Flacco versus Winston, most weeks I'm going to go Jameis, but I really don't love the matchup with the Chargers this week. That's a tough defense. It does not give up a lot of points. And for the pick 2, I'm going to go with Tillman and Waddle.
Derek?
Same for me. It's going to be Flacco with these other two. I mean, how could we not move away from him? Like you said, this is probably his number one fan podcast here, and he just boosts everyone else up in that lineup. So yeah, give me Flacco in 45 passing attempts, and I'll take whatever I can get. Whatever that provides. On the other side, I've got Waddle and Smith and Jigba over Tillman, although it is pretty close. But I have those two a little bit higher. I typically would probably go with Tillman instead. But the Chargers are pretty good, and I love that matchup for Seattle versus the Rams, taking advantage of that. So JSN hasn't been great. We haven't been able to trust him, but this is a matchup that he really should thrive in, especially with Metcalf still out. I mean, if he can't do it this week, then we really need to be concerned. So give me Waddle and JSN for the receivers.
God, Jalen Waddle, you're just going to get like 10 PPR points probably. At this point, I don't even know what the number is, but listen, I will say that the first question's Flacco. I did look into this. The last time he faced Brian Flores, he went for 290 and 2 touchdowns. So I'm not overly concerned about the complexity of Brian Flores' defense when he was in Miami. I know this was a long time ago. And I think he's got the weapons. He's going to be great. I think that's going to be a fun game. So I like Flacco in that matchup. Tillman, both outside cornerbacks for the Chargers will be out today. Christian Fulton will be out too. I kind of just want to see if this is real. I'm going to go with Tillman. I like that a little bit better. And then JSN has the worst slot matchup on the week, but Waddle's got a really tough out wide matchup. But at the same time, there's no DK Metcalf. So I'm going to go Waddle and Tillman here for me.
Yeah, likewise. I'm going to go Flacco across the board. And I will go with Tillman there. Tillman was one of our hotter pickups. Dave covered for Matt on the waiver article this week. So shouts out to our boy Styles with the bye week this week here. But Tillman was a big pickup this week if you didn't have him already. And I'm going to ride JSN. I know it's frustrating, but I feel like JSN and Waddle are kind of the same player right now, but with more opportunity with DK out. 6 deep targets and 6 red zone targets in the last 5 games for JSN. I think something's got to click here pretty soon. So I'm going to go with JSN on a hope there, Tillman with the volume, and then our boy Flacco. Epic fail again. Kicker report. Bob, you're on the clock here. Praying for Groupie. Love that. Also, Bills DST or Titans DST?
So from a kicker standpoint, it's a lot of studs at the top. Unfortunately, it's all the way down. My 2 quote unquote streamers. I mean, listen, Seibert's our guy forever. Austin Seibert, love him to death. He's at the top of my list again. If he's for whatever reason available, we should all have him at this point, folks. We should all have him. Then it goes like Younghoe Koo, Butker, Aubrey, Fairbairn, of course, against the Jets was one. But Will Lutz, Denver kicker in Baltimore, I do see something there. And then Blake Grupe is up on the list. So Blake Grupe against Carolina is in my top 10 this week. If you want to go Grupe on the road against Carolina, not a bad choice there as well. Other than that, those are the only 2 I really see that are streamer worthy. Will Lutz on the road against Baltimore, and then Blake Grupe against Carolina. Defenses, yeah. I mean, do you guys have any thought? I mean, the defenses for me, like I like Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo, I feel like against Miami at home is risky, but Miami on the road isn't as intimidating. But that being said, Tennessee against Drake May, I'm not excited about that, but
Tennessee's got New England
at home.
Yeah.
So
I'll go Titans.
I'll take the Titans on those out of those 2.
Yeah, same for me. I'll take the Titans, although I think Drake May will get enough to be a quarterback 2, super flex worthy, but overall, I prefer the Tennessee defense here versus the Buffalo defense.
Yeah, Epic Phil, if you can get your hands on the Eagles or something like that, I would prefer the Eagles in that, but I guess Titans are fine.
Give me 1 second. Sorry, folks. Doing a little deeper dive on the DSTs. You know, I'm going to stick with the Titans too. Against rookie quarterbacks, I think there's always just upside with those. But the Bills are always an opportunistic defense. And I was just looking quickly at turnovers. It's not even close. The Bills have 15 turnovers on the season. The Titans have 3. So they're making big time plays there. The Bills is also a DST that every once in a while you're going to catch them with like 2 pick sixes or something crazy. But again, versus the Dolphins this time around, I think I'm gonna keep them. But in week 2 at Miami, 3 picks, 2 sacks, and a DST touchdown on the season. They were the DST number 1, gentlemen. If we want to revisit this question quickly,
yeah, almost the quarterback retired.
Yeah, that was the Tua game again. They were the number 1 DST on the week in Miami on the road, of course. So I'm actually going to flip that. I got to go Buffalo.
I'm going Buffalo as well. The last year they played well too against Miami.
They do, but Miami's it's not quite that time of year yet. But with the dual matchup, it would be for Miami going to Buffalo, because even if it's not Buffalo yet, it's not Florida. And we see this every year with Miami leaving to go to New England and go to the Jets and go to the Bills and play outdoors in those elements and stuff. And especially Tua, man, he's also a Hawaii kid. Like, you can't change that element, Aloha. Yeah, I'll go Bills. Anybody changing, flipping there? Bills?
I'm not chasing those week 2 stats, but I understand the logic, and I wouldn't argue if Epic wanted to stick with the Bills here.
Okay. Bills. Shouts out to Destiny's Child. Not a sponsor, but just want to throw that out there. Official Savage coming in here with a Bill. We're going to have to wait on you, buddy. 1 second. Official Savage coming in with a super chat down here at the back. No Bates or McManus with the bad weather in Green Bay. Bob, you want to stick on the kicker chat here just for a second?
Well, yeah, I'm not messing around with that weather, especially a kicker. No, I mean, those guys are probably I'm out on, and I would pivot to either. I mean, obviously we talked about a bunch earlier, but Will Lutz. Will Lutz. But I think Blake Grupe on the road against the Panthers is probably a safer bet. Lutz, I think we're a little concerned about what Bo Nix will look like on the road against the Baltimore Ravens, but at the same time, I do think they'll move the ball enough to get some kicker opportunities. So I would say Grupe is probably my favorite streamer this week if you need to pick somebody up against Carolina.
Yeah, a kicker I've noticed just scanning my own waivers over my leagues this week that I noticed was available, who's a popular kicker, a good kicker. I was just surprised to see him everywhere, is Evan McPherson as well for the Bengals. He hasn't had a great season. He was like kicker 2 a couple years ago, but again, the Bengals are playing well. They're just not winning games. So they're putting up the points. I think they'll be okay. So keep an eye out for that Savage as well. And again, thanks to everybody for the super chats. I think we're at Bill Dino there. Thanks, Bill. Sorry for the brief pause there. Okay, so this one becomes quick. I'm sure, Bill, again, we get you guys questions maybe a few minutes after you to submit them. So this one might just be a null and void here. We just got word, Dave just dropped that Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jags is out for today. So the flex PPR, we can eliminate this one, Brian Thomas or Pittman. We're just going to go Pittman here. Any other quick thoughts on this? Maybe a streamer, somebody else?
It wasn't Brian Thomas. It was Brian Robinson.
Oh, Brian Robinson's out. Okay, my apologies. Okay, so this is a question then. My bad, Bill.
Does it change? The top cornerback for the Bills will be out today, Christian Benford.
That's cool for Tyreek. I think it hurts for Waddle still.
Okay. We'll get more into that.
Yeah, Brian Thomas. My bad then, guys.
That's what I heard too. So I'm with you, Sky. I heard that.
Yeah, sorry.
Well. I
generally have about half a brain when I get onto these Sunday shows. I'm on 4 hours of sleep every week. My bad. So Brian Thomas at Philly, Michael Pittman at Vikes. Let's start that over then. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I'm going to take Brian Thomas against Philly. Pittman hasn't looked very right since that back injury popped up. And, it's almost getting to the point where you wish he would take a game or 2 off just to deal with the back injury. So I'm going to take Brian Thomas today against Philly.
Yeah, all things being equal, I'm going to take him as well. Still watching that, the situation there. If if he appears to be limited at all, then I'm okay shifting to Pittman. I'm in one of my leagues. I've got Pittman or Puka, and I know Puka is supposed to be playing, but I'm at that decision point as well. So I think this one really kind of aligns with that one for me as well. Leaning Puka, unless I hear something different, then I'll go with Pittman. But same logic here for me. I'm leaning Thomas unless I hear or feel something that scares me enough to pivot to Pittman.
I'm going Pittman all day, baby. This is the number one matchup on the week for outside receivers. You got Flacco in the helm, baby. I'm all in. Pittman's back injury might be an issue, but then Thomas is also dealing with his own thing. So, and then the Philadelphia Eagles are a slot funnel defense. They allow 47% of their fantasy points to the slot. They're below average out wide this season. So I'm going to go with the matchup. I'm going to go Michael Pittman.
Bob, that was a great nugget there on slot versus wide metrics. Where did you get all that information?
I actually don't have a clue. I made it up. So that's weird. You know what I mean? I just throw it out there once in a while. It sounds cool. No, but actually there's a nasty rumor that Razzball did some crazy shit and put together a crazy points per game allowed tool that sees how many fantasy points a defense allows in the slot to receivers versus out wide. It's a nasty rumor. I don't even know if it's true, but if you go to football.razzball.com, there's a thing I believe called the fantasy data tab. You click on it, and then there's a bunch of different fun tools. There's one that says slot versus wide points per game. I think. I haven't seen it myself. I don't know. Click on that, and then bam, you see every matchup on the week. I don't know, but you guys let me know. You guys go check it out. If you see it, come back to me and say, yeah, it's real, and those stats are legit.
I love it. I know that Ben uses that a lot in his metrics as well. So that's a big time tool that we can use, and you can really helps decipher your high level matchups there. Michael Pittman is not the number one wide receiver in Indianapolis. So shouts out to our boy Josh Downs. Over the last couple of weeks, though, Pittman went off in week 4 versus Pittsburgh, which I thought was kind of interesting because they have a great defense. On the season, gentlemen, a quick rundown of Michael Pittman's yardage alone, just yards. 31, 21, 36, 113 against Pittsburgh. Great game. After that, 37, 35, 63, 16. Just not getting it done. I do like the Flacco upgrade, obviously, but I'm going to stick with Brian Thomas there in Philly. I do think that they'll be used. Bob, I'm into the stats. I just think that Josh Downs and Flacco got it going on there, and I think that Michael Pittman might be a little bit more decoy vibe this week here, and I think Brian Thomas is just going to get peppered in that game because Philly should be able to put up some points. So I'll go reverse psychology in that one. All right, Haram, good morning. Start 1, flex PPR. Mostert, Eckler, Ridley, Pollard, Lockett. We got a flex question here, PPR.
I'm probably leaning towards Mostert and hoping he can house a couple. Eckler, I just don't trust to get the volume necessary, and he hasn't been scoring too many touchdowns. Ridley, he could boom, but I kind of doubt it. Pollard's dealing with an injury where we just found out he's going to be active today. So I'm probably leaning away from him, and Lockett is the third receiver in Seattle. I'm gonna take Mostert and hope he can get me maybe 80 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, my first review of this, I focused right in on Ridley. Last 3 games, 8 targets, 9 targets, and 15 targets. So Mason Rudolph certainly knowing where his bread is buttered there. I do like that. The news with Brian Robinson out, though, certainly makes Eckler interesting to me. And, he does catch the ball. In fact, that's where his benefit is fantasy-wise, maybe even before today with Robinson on the field. It was catching the ball out of the backfield and third down or whatever. So I'm actually leaning towards Eckler here. Versus coming off of Ridley. Ridley was my first selection, but I'm kind of focusing on Eckler here. I think the news with Robinson out in a game against the Giants, we certainly have seen running backs have had big days against the Giants. So I'm going to say Eckler here, but Ridley is a close second for me. Bobby?
God, I got to tell you, by the way, Hiram, I love all these guys, except most are really on the road against Buffalo. But Eckler, to me, I think man, it should be Pollard against the freaking Patriots. And this knee injury, I don't know. Honestly, God damn it. I'm just gonna roll with Pollard if he's active. I don't. The matchup's awesome. I think he's going to be good if he could play. 80% of what he's supposed to be. I think he'll be good against the freaking Patriots, but at home. So give me Pollard.
Oh boy, I've tried to get my answer here by the time you guys got to me, and I've gone back and forth. I also zoomed in on Ridley first, then I went to Eckler because of Brian Robinson. Then I went to Mostert because he scored twice last week, and now Bobby got me hyped on Pollard. Either way, it's not Lockett. Man, every time I get stoked about Ridley, it just is the game that he bombs. I start him everywhere. I get a hunch, and then he bombs, and then you sit him next week, and he goes off. But I think I'm going back to the well here. Feeling those targets are major, and I think he'll have a nice opportunity there. So I'm going to stick with Ridley in this one here, only because it's PPR. I do like Eckler, but I looked in, and for some reason I thought Eckler had a better season, just kind of overall. I know he's not Eckler anymore. But running back 16 and then 25 back-to-back weeks in the middle part of the season were his best opportunities. 5 targets is the most he's gotten in the game so far this season. So I'm just not – I know Robinson's out, but I'm just not counting on him getting double digits or something like that all of a sudden. And, look, Jaden Daniels is just not checking down because he doesn't have to. So I'm going to go with Ridley on that. Epic fail back, Bo Nix or Stafford, also Ridley or Amari Cooper in PPR.
Side note, should we get like transition music for between questions? Like, I don't know. Like, is there like a nice melody that we could do to transition? Like, and maybe you'd have like a catchphrase, like, congratulations, you just got Razzball answered, or I don't know, something.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a little bit of a transition where there's a little bit of, I think that we could do something, production value for the people. You know what I mean?
We're working on, I'm running it up the chain here, but we're working on, we've got it all at Razzball. I think that's a nice little taste there. In the professional world for music and radio, generally there's a little bit of background music happening very lightly. It's kind of elevator music, if you will. It's like you're at a restaurant, you're having a nice chat, right? But you hear a little bit of music. It's not overwhelming, but it's back there just in case. So that might be something. We have a little undertone of some light music there rolling on.
I don't know. I'm thinking for us, maybe circus music.
Not bad.
Okay.
Well, normally we have normally we have a lot of background music in the sound of Matt Styles' voice. So that's what we're missing today. I think is that is that noise, that constant noise. So.
Now I'm going to run out the Target and buy Matt Styles' greatest hits.
Nice. What is it? The Millennium 20 years, the gray. It's the gray CD, right?
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, nice.
The Millennium Collection.
I just heard John Madden spitting some facts though, but if we can have that as our background music, that's fine with me.
What about Feeding Ducks?
Yeah, we went to Feeding Ducks last year.
Yeah, this is like the little bit of like, hey, folks, welcome to another quad.
Leave it there.
I know. All right.
Let's leave it for 5 questions. Just have it run for 5 questions. We're gonna poll the people and see what it sounds like. Let's get back to epic fail here. We have the Ducks versus the Bulldogs, which is gonna be a hell of a national championship game. Calvin Ridley and Amari Cooper, both from Alabama, but again, Amari Cooper toast. What do we got, Dave?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Stafford slightly over Nix. I think the matchup in Seattle should be a pretty good one for the Rams, especially with Kupp and probably Puka out there. I'll take that a little bit over Bo Nix in Baltimore. And for the receiver, it's not a question anymore. Cooper's out, so Ridley's the last man standing.
Yeah, everything he just said. Stafford's a different quarterback when he's got Kupp and Puka on the field. We saw that last week. So let's. I mean, there is some upside to Nix. We talked about that early on, but we're going to take advantage of that with that Stafford to Cup and Stafford to Puka connection. Of course, you've got Kyron in the backfield as well. So Rams are looking good right now. If they can get by this game, I mean, they're going to be a legitimate playoff contender. So I think they smell it there as well. Give me Stafford and then of course Ridley.
I mean, Stafford wasn't good last year against the Seattle Seahawks. So in the 2 games against the Seahawks, he went he went for 333, 334 and 0 touchdowns, and then he went for 190 and 1. And he didn't have much really big fantasy days in either one. And then Bo Nix, I just have a gut feeling it's not going to be great on the road against Baltimore. I don't know. I'm not really excited about either one of those starts, but and I don't even know what's going on with Puka. It sounds like he's okay, but the last time we thought he was okay, week 1, he got hurt and he was done right after a handful of snaps. So the knee situation just keeps coming up, and so I'm gonna lean Bo Nix slightly.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean Bo Nix as well and try not to make this a homer call. But Matt Stafford last week, 4 touchdowns, which is very impressive, except for the rookie Bo Nix also had 4 touchdowns. Bo Nix has 136 rushing yards, gentlemen, in 2 of the last 3 games combined there. He is the quarterback 8, 9, and 2 over the last few weeks. Last week, Matt Stafford was QB5 in a great game, but Bo Nix was QB2. I do think that a veteran squad and coaching staff can eat up a rookie quarterback, which might happen on the road in Baltimore for sure. But Bo Nix is on fire, honestly, playing very well. Yet to throw 300 yards. And Lamar's kind of banged up a little bit as well. So if somehow the Broncos hang in this game and make it competitive, I do think that they could have an opportunity. And Baltimore's just not as scary as they usually are. So I'm going to lean Bo Nix as well.
Not to ever question your fantasy prowess there, Sky, but Bo Nix did it against the Carolina Panthers at home, where he's got a 65% advantage in his home road splits. I know that because if you joined us on Wednesday night, right, Bobby?
Wow,
we talked about that.
Holy cow!
Specifically, but and then of course Stafford did it at home versus the Vikings. So
the only thing I remember from the Wednesday episode is that Dalvin Cook has to rejoin the Cowboys from the practice squad because Derek Favret let me know that you're not automatically on the squad if you join from the practice squad. You go right back there Monday morning. They devote you immediately, and then you have to rejoin the squad. That's all I remember from Wednesday.
Yeah. And with Ezekiel Elliott out today, he probably will get pulled back up from the.
Well, he's been pulled up from the practice squad, but that's right. So if they pull him off the practice squad to stay, he's got to be on the roster for the rest of the year.
Right.
One of the 53. I will also just counter Matt Stafford a little bit back on divisional rival. Right.
Fair.
The Seahawks play very well against Matt Stafford each week, and I'm not going to predict anything. And obviously, we want good vibes for everybody, and Puka especially. But Puka and Cooper Kupp come into these games sometimes. They play 5 snaps and get a hammy or something, and then kind of take off the rest of the day. And the other guy goes nuclear, right? So I don't know. I just got a hunch. I'm going to go with Bo Nix.
Injuries happen in football. Who knew?
They do. Granville, Houston. Good morning. Jalen McMillan, Jalen Tolbert, 12-team, half PPR. Dave?
I'm probably going to take a flyer and go with McMillan in this game. I don't really care for the matchup, but frankly, it's kind of like a last man standing type of situation in Tampa. And, we've seen that Baker can perform with pretty much anybody on the field. He could give you 3 or 4 touchdowns. He'll give you a couple of interceptions, but he's out there slinging the rock. As far as Tolbert goes, I like it, but he doesn't always get the volume. I think if he was more of a steady, consistent contributor, I would like him better. And believe me, I have him on some rosters. I would love to see that.
This is true. So actually, Bobby, you jump ahead. I'm looking something up on your aforementioned tools that you talked about on Razzball. So I'm confirming they do exist.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Derek. I mean, obviously that was God forbid the fans. I was asking the fans, but Derek just has to always step in, and I appreciate you for it, Derek. So anyway, I'm gonna go Jalen Tolbert. The Falcons secondary has it. They have talented guys up back there, but they haven't figured it out. They allow a decent amount of fantasy points out wide. The Cowboys are in a must-win. I think that game's gonna be a fun shootout. McMillan, I mean, the one thing that the Chiefs are really good at is stopping from fantasy points out wide. So, and McMillan was like his ADOT was very low last week. They weren't getting him ball down the field for him. And I just don't see the Chiefs being a team that you're going to get a bunch of yards after the catch against and dominate. So I'm going to go Jalen Tolbert for me.
Yeah, I just confirmed actually what Bobby talked about. If you look at McMillan on our wide receiver fantasy points scored slot versus wide, I mean, you find that he is more of scoring more of his points out wide, where as Bobby said, Kansas City is much better. And so, and for that reason, I really do expect to see Dallas slinging the ball a little bit more. They're really in a desperate position in my mind. They need to come out with a win, whatever means. And if it's, I mean, CeeDee Lamb is going to get his, but who else is going to get it? And I expect Tolbert to get targeted at least 4 or 5 times, and he's catching the ball at pretty high frequency. So yeah, give me Tolbert.
Yeah, this is kind of a neck and neck for me. Jalen McMillan's got his own late addition to the injury report, got a hammy late in practice. I'm going to go Jalen Tolbert as well. The Cowboys are on the road. We know they don't play as well on the road, but it's indoors. And Atlanta's also going to be slinging it. The Cowboy defense without Micah Parsons, Bob mentioned earlier. And we got the injury report coming up in 7 minutes, folks. So stick around for all those behind-the-scenes injuries. Bob's going to run down for you every week. But without that defense the way that it was the last couple seasons, they're just not stopping people. So I'm going to go Jalen Tolbert.
Okay. And real quick before we move on, he followed it up with rest of season. Do we like McMillan or Tolbert rest of season? We talked about today, but what about rest of season?
Yeah, I'll just pick it up. We'll go back around quickly. I'm going to go Jalen Tolbert today, McMillan the rest of the year.
I'm sticking with McMillan for both.
Yeah, I agree with Sky. Tolbert today, McMillan rest of the year.
So other more rumors. I don't know if this is true. If you guys also want to check this one out, apparently there's a rest of season strength of schedule for slot versus out wide. Don't know if it's true, but if you go to razzball.com, you click on the fantasy data tab, there might be a rest of season slot versus wide tool available for you to use. Based on that, Tampa Bay does have a pretty tough out wide schedule, 21st, and the Dallas Cowboys are all the way up at 6. So a little bit better schedule for Dallas. So I'm going to go probably I'm going to go Tolbert slightly ahead of McMillan.
The hottest quarterback in fantasy football, you're going to go against Baker Mayfield right now?
Don't feel great about it.
Yikes. All right, Cosmo, good morning. Again, anyone with a dog. Bob, I feel like Super Chat obviously gets the immediate bump, right? And they should, right? They're contributing to our kids going to college. That's really important.
Yeah.
But the net, I feel like right after that, we'll call it a semi super chat potentially. I'll talk to Styles. He's good at those word plays. A semi super chat would be if you have a dog as your avatar on your little icon there by your name. I feel like that's kind of an immediate bump as well. I'll run that up the chain, but that might just like extra kind of bump you up the ladder there.
We need a barking sound effect for that.
There we go. I'm sure Bob can come up with something. He's the audio engineer on the program. Good morning. Half PPR start Tucker Kraft in bad weather or Hawkinson coming off the injury.
I am actually in a spot where in one of my leagues, I am going to have to insert TJ Hawkinson. He's kind of like the last man standing for me. But if I had the choice, even in the bad weather, I'm going to start Tucker Kraft. I just don't. I don't trust a guy coming off a major injury and not having played in a game in 11 months. So I'll take Kraft in that today.
Yeah, this is a really good question, and I have a situation just like you, Dave, where I'm really forced to play Hawkinson because Freiermuth is my other tight end. So I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to see what happens. the word out of Minnesota is they held him out until he was fully healthy, and ready to go 100%. So assuming, we're going to believe that. And again, he hasn't, other than practice, he doesn't have any games with the new quarterback there. So there is some risk there, but Tucker Kraft is just really elevated his game to a new level. Jordan Love's going to have to get rid of the ball fast, because he's not going to be able to scramble out of pressure on a wet field. Tucker Kraft's been one of his go-to targets. I'm going to take that connection that we've seen, that we know is there. And again, Kraft is really kind of elevated to top 3, top 4 tight end positions. So I'm going to go with that and wait and see what Hawkinson does. But, again, if you're Hawkinson, if you're on Hawkinson versus some other flex worthy tight ends, I'm going to go with Hawkinson like I am in my other league, but in this case, Kraft.
Man, the Indianapolis Colts, by the way, are just an absolute smash for tight ends, and the Detroit Lions are not. They're not a great matchup for tight ends, and the weather. I don't know. I'm gonna have a little fun and go TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Hawk too. There's a few of these.
Did you
things
say Hawk Tua?
Hold on.
Tua?
Everyone pause.
We're gonna get a copyright strike. If we're gonna get a copyright strike, I mean, what are we doing here?
Bob, you just put us on the red line. I said Hawk 2, by the way. Okay, Epic fail can stat correct us on this one. I know he's listening. Hawk 2 as well, because they left him out, and he's the guy that I think could just get mad volume. Obviously, they've got Jefferson and the rest of the options there, but I think that he's the type of tight end where if he gets hot and he's feeling good, they can roll him 9 targets or something. Tucker Kraft, I'm a bit concerned about. Just he's scoring touchdowns, which with tight end, that's all you care about. But I think that Hawkinson can absolutely do that too, because again, you don't really have a this year's scouting report on him. We know that he's lethal in the red zone over the years. And on top of that, you mentioned that the culture is smash. They've given up the 9th most yardage, receiving yards to tight ends, and the 7th most fantasy points. And the Lions are, much more difficult against it. So I know Tucker Kraft obviously has been on fire, and he should be started in other opportunities. He's 11 for me this week, but I'm going to put Hawkinson at 10 actually. So he's just a bump ahead. I'm going to trust it and then go TJ Hawkinson. Bill, hello. Back to the Guillotine League. Love it. Superflex choice, Bucky Irving, Charbonnet, or Keenan Allen. Man, we haven't had a Keenan Allen question in weeks. It burns my soul. Bucky Irving, kind of always beat up with the toe injury, but he'll play every week. Charbonnet or Keenan Allen in the Guillotine League. Again, folks, Guillotine is win or go home literally every week. What do you got? And that's a PPR. What do you got, Dave?
I'm going to take Bucky Irving there. I do like Allen, but it's been pretty inconsistent with him. I'll take Irving in this matchup. I know it's a bad matchup against Kansas City. I don't love the choice. Charbonnet to me just doesn't give me enough touches. I'll take Irving, but I could see going Keenan Allen.
Yeah, it's I'm really leaning Irving here as well for the same reasons. I'm just you get a little tease with Allen and then it's gone, and there's just not enough there to really count on. So give me Bucky Irving. I mean, they need to use all the weapons they have, and he's one of their weapons. So, and keeping Mahomes and company off the field, rushing the ball with Bucky Irving seems to make a lot of sense from a game strategy point of view. So give me Bucky Irving.
I'm going to probably go Keenan Allen. I think the Zach Charbonnet, whatever you want to call him, honestly, like he's a backup running back, so he just gets random touches here and there. So if you could predict a touchdown, congratulations. I just don't think I can do that. The Chiefs are just the toughest matchup for running backs, and Rashad White, I feel like they're using him a little more because they need pass catchers. So I'm just going to go Keenan Allen. The matchup's not bad against Arizona either in the slot. So give me that. Give me Allen.
Yeah, I hate to go against my Ducks here, but I'm going to agree with Bob. I just want to give a shout out to Bucky Irving quickly. I mentioned him on the waiver trade episode. 43 qualifying running backs. He has the second most explosive rate as a rookie and as a backup, quote unquote. But he has the fourth most missed tackles per attempt as well, seventh most yards after contact. So he's dominating. He is the best running back in Tampa Bay. Moving forward, I have no issues starting Bucky Irving over Rachaad White. This week, I think I could really, he's also nursing that toe, as I mentioned. I could definitely see a bunch of checkdowns if they fall behind early, which they might, to Kansas City at home. Or I should say Bucks are on the road. So I think Rachaad White gets a little bit more work, but he was actually a trade away candidate for me this week. So Bucky Irving moving forward, but I will go Keenan Allen as well this week. The Bears are playing well. As much as Matt and I want to hate on Caleb Williams, the Bears are playing well. So don't tell your Packers fans, but looks like a good squad and could be a nice game there as well. So I'm going to bench Bucky. Not interested in Charbonnet right now if he's the backup there. All right, everybody, we're going to transition. Before we go, this is important. Helps the stats. It helps me kind of make decisions within the company. We got the boss online here, so if Dave says it goes, it goes. Feed the Ducks, to me, gentlemen, has been crushing it for the last 3.5, 4 minutes. It's been great behind the scenes. I feel a little bit more calm with the background music. So for me, that's an upvote, but I'm going to give it to the fans. What I'd love is everybody in the chat, along with your questions, which we'll get to the rest of your questions on the second half here after the injury report. We also have another special guest to make it a 5-box for the morning, and then we'll bump the boss when he's done there. But I want to give everybody a duck emoji if you're on your phone for a yes vote, or you can just let us know, give me a go Ducks in the chat. And we know it won't be the school. Don't worry. We're not going to keep it biased here, but that's going to be for the song. But give us a go Ducks in text, and we'll keep the song in the background, or just give us a little duck emoji, and we'll count them up and tally and see how we can do it running up the chain. But for me, the background music is a must stay. Bob, you got the injury report for us, so you know you got to take a couple of breaths, get some water, a little chai tea, whatever you got. Maybe bourbon. I don't know what you're doing at 9 a.m. in San Diego, but if it's fitting for you, let's make it happen. The rest of us are going to take a quick breather, and we will be back for the second half. So make sure you get the rest of your questions in here. If you have a super chat, we'll get to that right away when we come back, and let us know if you got a duck for the background music. We'll be back with you in a few minutes on the Razzball Start Sit Show for Week 9.
All right, folks. Yeah, after this, I'll be jumping off, and we'll be bringing on our new host, Beat On. If you know Razzball, you know Beat On. He'll be on for the second half, answering all your start sit questions with the guys. So we'll be doing a quick injury update for you, so you know what injuries you need to be watching out for, and maybe help you with these flex questions and wide receiver threes. Let's jump down. Let's start off the top. Let's talk about the Saints first at the Panthers today. Derek Carr is officially in, but some notable injuries I think that will be interesting for this week's matchup. Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller are out today. I do believe that Taysom Hill makes an interesting tight end streamer this week. He could get a couple more carries behind Alvin Kamara, as both backup running backs will be out in this game. The Saints will also be down Bub Means. He's been kind of emerging with the loss of Rashid Shaheed. So that should help out a little bit this week for guys like Chris Olave. I think he's going to be a solid start in this matchup as well. The Saints are going to be down 3 starting cornerbacks, and they're also going to be down one of their starting safeties. So 4 of their top 6 secondary players are out today in this matchup. I know Bryce Young hasn't looked great, but Jalen Coker looked pretty good in his spot start. If you're really desperate for a wide receiver 3, the injuries to the Panthers and also how their defense is, they have historically been a slot funnel defense under what the hell his name is now? Whatever, the coach for the freaking Dennis Allen. There you go. So I do think that Jalen Coker could emerge today as a wide receiver 3 in this matchup with this many injuries in the Saints secondary. Andy Dalton officially out again today. It's like Bryce Young will be the starter. They'll also be down their starting left tackle as well. That's kind of tough news for the Panthers overall, but maybe because of some of the injuries, that'll be notable. Deontay Johnson traded officially. We'll see how this kind of shakes out. He did miss last week, and it was Coker who really emerged. So we'll keep a wide, but Leggett long-term rest of season looks like he'll get plenty of opportunities. Carolina is also down 2 of their 3 top safeties this week. So I do think that actually does help Taysom Hill even more. So maybe Taysom Hill is my streamer tight end of the week. Jumping down to the Commanders at Giants. Brian Robinson officially ruled out today. Honestly, I do think Austin Eckler is an absolute great RB2. The only game this season that Brian Robinson missed, he did not play great, but he did get 15 touches in that game, but he played against the Ravens. Really tough against running backs. This week he gets a much better matchup against the Giants. So don't fade Austin Eckler because how he performed against the Ravens. Jumping down, they are going to be down there left tackle Cornelius Lucas, but the way that Jaden Daniels is playing, I'm not overly worried about that. On the flip side, the front for the Washington Commanders is still very banged up. They're going to be down 2 of their key guys this week. That should definitely help Tyrone Tracy, who's in officially from his concussion. On the flip side, the Giants secondary is getting healthy. They did get their corners back this week. Terry McLaurin hasn't been necessarily great against the Giants recently, so he's not an auto start. Bring your questions for the second half of the show. Dolphins at Bills. The Dolphins will be missing some key guys up the middle. Javon Holland and their slot cornerback are out today. That should help Khalil Shakir, who's played very well, even with Amari Cooper, who, by the way, is out today. So I think Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid should be the guys to look out for in that matchup against the Miami Dolphins. Jumping down to Christian Benford, who's actually one of the top outside cornerbacks for the Bills, has been ruled out today. That should definitely help Hill and Waddle. I'm a little wary about Waddle. I think he's probably a high floor, 8 to 12 PPR points. Unfortunately, I'm not excited to start him, but Hill should definitely bounce back this week. Chargers at Browns. Of course, Jameis Winston coming off his monster performance. He'll have a much tougher matchup this week against the Chargers, who do have a lot of health on their side. They're getting some of their key guys back. Quentin Johnson, Hayden Hurst, and Will Dissly officially in this week. On the defensive side of the ball, though, it's interesting. They're going to be down Christian Fulton and Asante Samuel, who's been out for a few weeks. That's both their top outside cornerbacks. So I think Tillman is in. I think the matchup's a lot tougher than last week. We're not expecting to smash, but the injuries to the Chargers cornerbacks on the outside should definitely help Tillman get you flirting with some wide receiver 3 value. On the flip side, on the defense, the Browns are going to be missing some of their key linebackers. Jeremiah Osu-Kuramora, I think I got that one right, is one of their best players. He's out. Jordan Hicks also out today. That front should definitely help J.K. Dobbins in this matchup. Jumping over to the Patriots at Titans. Looks like for really the Will Levis experience is out again today. We're going to be going with Mason Rudolph. Some notable, Tony Pollard is officially in dealing with that foot injury. Of course, he had that foot injury a few years ago, so that is notable. But honestly, in this smash spot, it's going to be hard to get away from him as an RB2 with Tajay Spears out. They're going to be down one of their key interior offensive linemen. But overall, I'm still interested in Pollard, even with the foot injury. Notable side on the flip side, L'Jarius Sneed is still out today. That's the best outside cornerback for the Tennessee Titans. That, Booty could have a little uptick in production today with Sneed out, but overall, really tough to trust the perimeter receivers against a really tough perimeter Titans defense. Cowboys at Falcons. Zeke Elliott officially ruled out today. It looks like Dalvin Cook will be backing up Rico Dowdle. Expect Rico Dowdle to be the main guy. I'd be interested to see. I think he's a rock-solid RB2 this week. Dallas will be down 3 defensive linemen in this game, and they're also down one of their key outside cornerbacks today against the Falcons. So I do really like the Falcons offense. I'm starting Kirk Cousins in a lot of leagues. Get Darnell Mooney and Drake London into your lineups. Troy Anderson and Lorenzo Carter, 2 starting linebackers, are out today for the Falcons. That should definitely help that run game for the Dallas Cowboys. And Rico Dowdle kind of bounced back from his, I guess he had the high fever last week, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Raiders at Bengals. Andre James, starting center, is out today. I think this is kind of a tough to trust on the road for Alexander Madison, but he still will get most of the volume. There's been rumors that Zamir White will get more work, but Alexander Madison still seems okay there as well. Jumping down to the Bengals, couple key injuries here. T. Higgins is out, and Jermaine Burton has been ruled out too, which is interesting. I think it's going to be tough to trust anybody besides Chase, but I do think Mike Gesicki is a streamable tight end this week because of the news of the injuries to the receiving core and the healthy scratches. Zach Moss out today. We're all expecting that Chase Brown smash this week, so hopefully he goes off. They will be down their left tackle, Orlando Brown. All right, let's jump that to one more. We got a couple more for the later window, and we'll get through this and get back to your questions right now. Browns at Ravens. Just acquiring Deontay Johnson. It has been acquired by the Ravens, of course, from the breaking news, but he will be on a limited snack count in a tough matchup. I think it's better to kind of wait and see with him. The Ravens secondary looks to be healthy with Humphrey and Wiggins both back. So honestly, I think Bo Nix is a streamer potentially. I'm just call it a gut feeling. I think on the road, he might not be as good as we think, even in a plus matchup against the Ravens. Bears at Cardinals. We also got a couple key injuries up here for the Bears front. They're going to be missing their left tackle, Baxter Jones. They're also going to be dealing with some injuries on the back end too as well. So that should definitely help James Conner and that Cardinals offense. Let's jump over to the Jags at Eagles. Travis Etienne, I'm just moving on from the Bears Cardinals because there's a lot of question marks there. We don't know for the late window. Anyway, Jaguars, Eagles, Etienne is officially in. Also, Tank Bigsby should also be in today. Christian Kirk officially out. I think Parker Washington is an interesting play. It looks like Brian Thomas will give it a go, but I think Parker Washington could be a streamer wide receiver 3 if you need it this week. The Jags did trade away their left tackle, and they're also going to be down Ezra Cleveland. And Brandon Sheriff is banged up. So 3 of their 5 starters could be out today against the Eagles. I think Eagles are my favorite streamer defense of the week. On the Eagles side of the ball, Dallas Goedert, of course, out today. We talked about his backup tight end last week. He actually might be a decent streamer as well. But there's a lot of notable streamers with Hill, Mike Gesicki as well. So maybe you pivot to one of those guys in their matchups. Darius Slay, also outside quarterback, is going to be out today. That will definitely help Brian Thomas if he's active and playing officially in the later window. Rams at Seahawks. Puka Nacua is officially in. We'll see how that goes for his knee injury. Definitely risky as well. DK Metcalf and Noah Fant are both out today against the Rams. I call it a hunch. I think Tyler Lockett has one of his better days today. A nice solid 13 PPR points. Just nothing gets the people going like that. The Lions and at Packers. I mean, the Lions, what's notable here, obviously the weather concerns are major for this game, but a lot of the guys up top here, Aiden Hutchinson, Josh Pascal, Wingo, Davenport, Malcolm, that's their front 7. They're missing a lot of guys up front. Derek Barnes. That's all their front 7 starters. So Josh Jacobs does get a little feather in the cap. Maybe in a rain game, I think the matchup against the Lions could be a little bit better for him because of all these injuries up front. Josh Myers, starting center, is out today for the Packers, which could hurt him a little bit. But overall, with all those injuries to Detroit, should be okay. We'll watch Jair Alexander. Just keep an eye on that. But I think overall, the rain concerns are tough there as well. Colts, Vikings. The left tackle for the Colts will be out today, unfortunately, for Joe Flacco. I think I'm still not concerned. Flacco is one of my favorite streamers of the week. Blake Cashman, starting middle linebacker, is out. I think we're all okay starting Jonathan Taylor. Bucks and Chiefs. Of course, we know Evans and Godwin are officially out. I think Cade Otton's definitely the guy who emerged last week, and he's definitely the guy you want this week. Jamel Dean, outside cornerback, is out today. That should definitely help DeAndre Hopkins, who is definitely someone I think could get you, a solid wide receiver 3 numbers in that matchup as well. Jumping down to some notable injuries for the Chiefs, Jalen Watson's probably the biggest name on the list. Outside cornerback is out. Could help guys like McMillan, but overall, I think Otton's more of the focus there. All right, that's all the injuries we got today, folks. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, we got a super chat too in the waiting, so I'm going to kick it back over to the guys really quick if I could ever figure out how to get this off the screen. Thank you. Bringing everybody in. And by the way, before I bring in the person that's going to replace me for the second half, we got to do the tradition. And I think we got to just give him a little love. B-Don's like I think he's like he's like the Mount Rushmore guys of Razzball. So I'm excited he could be on. So I think we got to give him like a little bit of a.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Boy, Raz B-Don, baby. It's in the name. What's going on, B-Don?
Hey, what's going on? I always appreciate the compliment. I don't know that I deserve that kind of compliment, but I will always take it, man.
We already chiseled your face in, so it's too late. You're already up there. It's all good. No worries.
I think it's just because I'm a minority, really. I mean, I feel like that's why I'm up there. But hey, I'll take whatever I can get.
All right, nice. Now, before we go, we got to show respect to Scott because he's a super chatter. And before I leave, I want to give some love to him too. So I'll answer this one and then I'll head out. So Scott, you can take it from here.
Yeah, Scotty Eminger, big time supporter. Bob and I have been doing this quite a while before Razzball days together, and Scott was with us back in the day as well. So long time, big time supporter always. Scott, we really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for always coming through over the years. And beat on. Good morning, afternoon, sir. Let's get it going. Morning, gents. PPR League at wide receiver. We need one. Ridley, Mooney, Tillman, and always shouts out to the Bills Mafia, Good Sports, and Buck Army. Buck Army's an OG. You guys don't know the Buck Army, but Good Sports, as Bob mentioned, that's where all the money's going here. The proceeds for the super chat. So those are the youth sports organizations that we're helping support. So that's where the Good Sports comes in, and of course, Bills Mafia there. All right, we'll kick it off here. And you know what? Just because I'm in a good mood, we're going to slip B-Don into that top leadoff slot here.
B-Don. Wow, right off the bat.
I just have a hunch that Dave is, maybe works the count a little bit better than B-Don. B-Don's got better wheels up at the top, but maybe Dave's going to work the count a little bit better. So we'll give him
baseball
two
references.
slots. Oh,
Baseball
sorry.
references.
I didn't know you're still here, Bob. My bad. I didn't know you're still here. Sorry about that.
Beat on it runs the baseball podcast, so I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? It makes him feel a little, it gets him used to what's going on here. I like
the
that.
blood
Smart.
flowing.
That's good hosting. That's good hosting.
You got to know your audience. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
So PPR, we need one. We got Ridley, Mooney, and Tillman in a full PPR. Beat on, kick it off, bud.
I think I'm going with Ridley. We saw last week that him and Rudolph had a nice connection. Rudolph's going to be in there again. I think the other option for me would be Mooney. Tillman's the third one out for me just because the matchup's bad. And honestly, the way that they spread the ball around, Tillman had a big week last week, but it could be any number of receivers taking it there. So I'm going to go with Ridley, but it would be Ridley or Mooney for me.
Yeah, I know the arguments for Ridley. I've been hearing them all morning. I just am not ready to trust Ridley from my point of view. I love Tillman, and I know the Chargers have a bunch of injuries in the defensive backfield. But for me, I'll take Mooney in a game where I expect the ball to be in the air pretty much all day. I'll take Mooney over Ridley and over Tillman. And thanks for the super chat, Scott.
Yeah, so in my DFS prop article this week, one of these guys made the cut, and it was Darnell Mooney. He had based on our slot versus wide tool, he's got the 7th best matchup with 21 fantasy points per game by the Cowboys out wide, and 62% of his fantasy points are coming out wide based on our wide receiver slot versus wide tools. So Mooney was one of my prop plays for receptions, yards, and a touchdown. So I will double down on that and for Scott and go with Mooney.
Yeah, I don't really know what the Christian Gonzalez thing is. It sounds like to me Gonzalez is everything screams that he's a really good corner. And then you go through the stats. Like Brian Thomas had a good day against them. And then, like Adams last week had 4 for 54. So you're like, all right, what's really going on there? I think Mooney's in the smash spot here. Like this Falcons Dallas Cowboys game could be a lot of fun. Cowboys are dealing with their own injuries on defense, and they're going to be down one of their outside cornerbacks today too. And if Diggs is going to shadow anybody, it's going to be Drake London. So I think that gives Mooney another bump. So I'm going to go Mooney slightly ahead of Ridley, who, by the way, went off the first week without DeAndre Hopkins. So you got to be excited for him rest of the season. And shout out Buck and Ryan from the old school days, Fantasy Focus. We had a really cool logo. The merger logo, that was some good times. Nice.
Darnell Mooney's been on fire the last handful of weeks. And basically, Kirk Cousins has a good game. Darnell Mooney has a good game. I think that's going to happen here. It's a shootout no matter what. And they're at home. So I like that a lot. I'm going to go with Darnell Mooney here. But I am leaning more to Ridley. But Ridley is just so like boom or bust these days. And I just think Darnell Mooney can be more consistent for us. So I'll take that. Thank you, Scotty. Appreciate you, buddy. And Bob, we're going to let you go, my man. Go handle business. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Best of luck in week 9.
Guys, love you. Have fun. Be good. Behave. All of you behave, all right? Don't do anything crazy.
That's bad advice, right?
I know.
It's Razzball. We'll get in some trouble.
I'll absolutely behave like myself.
Perfect. Okay, so like I was mentioning, Clayton Kershaw versus Madison Bumgarner. Sorry.